Rampant Richmond took an injury-ravaged and undermanned Hawthorn side to task, running out 61-point winners at the MCG. And now just one match remains in our home-and-away campaign as the Hawks seek revenge against a Western Bulldogs side desperate to qualify for finals. We'll be discussing that Round 23 clash as well as the latest on Box Hill and our AFLW side right here on the Hawk Talk podcast. My name is Nick Mason, and it's been a decent season from our boys, but it did look like they were ready for it to be over.
Yeah, they're sort of struggling to the finish line now. A lot of young bodies, a lot of injuries. What is 13 off the total list now? That's a lot.
Yeah, for all we know, that injury list could expand, given that we just heard this week that Jarman Impey has been playing through loose screws in his ankle.
Yeah, and I mean to look at the overall state of the game, we lost by 10 goals, but inside 50s, 55 to 52.
Yeah, the supply was
odd.
there.
Quite odd.
Yeah.
When you consider our midfield looked awful, and people are considering Jaeger and Tom Mitchell moving on, and the media's got Bruce leaving, and Gunston's following. Am I allowed to say his name?
Yeah, it's all
Clarko, wherever he's going.
Yeah. You haven't heard it enough this week?
Wherever he may end up, along with Liam Shields, who obviously the club haven't announced that he's retiring, so who knows what's going on there. You'd expect he gets another game. I thought he played all right. Wasn't fantastic, didn't set the world on fire, but our best player on the weekend was Newcombe, probably, and James Sicily in a very, very strange role.
That strange role being the midfield, which is a first.
And the sausage roll that he kicked, first time in a long time. Beautiful goal too.
30 touches and a goal for James Sicily, 5 inside 50s, a game-high 715 metres gain, and as we said, a midfield cameo. Now that is Sam Mitchell not looking to win the game, not looking to lose the game.
No, he just went into the archives. He went, oh, look, here's Luke Hodges' game plan. Maybe Sicily can do parts of this as well.
He's like, I remember this used to work when I played. I mean, look, he's just throwing the magnets around.
It's a huge demand.
Oh, it's a huge demand on the 3 defenders that were left out
Jekka
to
must
dry.
feel fantastic.
Okay,
like, Jekka comes up from the VFL. They move Sicily to accommodate him.
No worries.
Yeah.
I mean, Jekka actually did reasonably well. I didn't think Rewalt had a great game.
He does look good.
Yeah. Denver Granger Barras.
There have been some incredibly
harsh takes
and early takes on this kid.
Yeah.
We've seen him drop to the VFL, so obviously internally he's not hitting all the right integers. Mm-hmm. But, you hear this about Jarman Impey with his screws loose, and you're like, well, can I really have a go at the kid? Yeah.
Let's have a little pause on this and get some perspective. Yeah.
But a couple of weeks ago he said how badly some of the first years had been for some key defenders that we've signed in the past that have become premiership players and highly dependable members of our Hawthorn unit and history. And, I don't have misgivings about taking Denver where we did. It's just that this is a lot of taking a young key defender. They're not going to look like a pick 6 midfielder or a pick 6 forward for many years, are they? They're just not going to have the same output. No,
and they are going to test your patience as a fan. Absolutely. That's certainly what happened for me on the weekend. I'll cop to that. But he needs time. That's just it. You got to hang in there as fans and come with him on the journey.
Speaking of time, you add them all together. They've had 1.5 seasons. 35 games of experience between Blank, Jekka, and DGB.
Yeah, up against a couple of premiership forwards and a pretty decent team, Richmond. I mean, they've made top 8 again, and we're almost bottom 4. So,
but did Sammy go a bit Zach Dawson's, just going DGB? You're one out with.
I did think
Lynch.
That. I did think that they left him.
That
out
didn't
to dry.
seem very fair.
Well, they got to learn sometime.
And I mean.
It wasn't
Denver didn't have any worries. He just went up to him and started the physicality. I'm going, probably need a couple more seasons in the gym before this is going to work for you.
Exactly. It doesn't wash right now. But it wasn't as if DGB had all 8 kicked on him or anything like that. If anything, I thought as a defensive unit, they didn't really support one another very well. I thought...
I mean, you take Sicily out,
Yeah, the general, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to look a bit different as a unit, but I think that's what was required, was more of a team effort to mitigate the influence of, Tom Lynch in particular, but just their forwards. It just,
But
the system didn't work.
Fascinating to see Sammy just go, right, let's play roulette with the magnets.
Yeah.
And
some people suggesting, geez, it's a bit late to tank, Sammy. What are you thinking? And it is a bit late. That's why I don't think it is tanking. I just
he's
think
just
it's
experimenting.
Yep. You've got to get what you can out of these last couple of games.
I reckon it's a better experiment than the McAvoy one.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we had to endure. After we recorded, it was announced that that's
right.
it. He's hanging up the boots.
Yeah, it's classic Hawk Talk pod fashion. Literally minutes before I go to upload the episode, that bombshell drops.
And his work ethic on the weekend against, well, let's face it, very, very good opposition.
He was always going to be up against the wall from selection. I mean, we needed 2 ruckmen. I don't know why necessarily we didn't pick him. We'll get to Lynch a bit later, but yeah, big boy, I thought he played with heart. And what a career.
He's the best ruck for Hawthorn ever, probably.
Yeah, always, he has to be in the conversation.
2 premierships.
We were talking before, and you know, in terms of McAvoy memories, I can't think of many specific ones. You brought up Jeddah. That was the 2014 grand final.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's one that stands out, but
like a mosquito.
Beyond that, I just, you know, it's an amalgamation, all these memories bleeding together of when he's been, you know, deep forward and being an absolute colossus, taking a huge contested grab right when we needed it.
Or just the first 20 minutes of any grand final.
Yep.
He's right there when the pressure's on.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful kick for a ruckman.
He's one of the most accurate of all time, apparently. I think he retains that record, that distinction. So.
And then don't forget all those years when he was the target down the line getting absolutely pummeled.
Oh, he was fundamental to our game plan. If he couldn't take that grab, we were cooked, basically. That's how it was for a couple of years.
But, you know, him and Hale, what a tremendous pairing.
Oh, absolutely.
And don't forget, he was a bit lucky, 2014. You know, it was between him and Segler.
Oh, yes. I feel like anything I say here might be a bit disrespectful to Segs. I don't mean that.
Well, I mean, he could be a premiership player by the end of the year.
Oh, jeez. We might get onto that a bit later. One of our questions refers to that.
He was unlucky. I think that's fair to say that, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose so. But hats off to Ben McAvoy, who plays his final game this weekend in Tassie.
But I remember him in the grand final rematch. Ben McAvoy is tremendous. So I wonder if Clarko thought about that at the time. That got him over the line.
Yeah,
He's
maybe.
been here before.
Well, it paid off, didn't it?
Did.
We're in the good timeline. So
we're in the good time.
Well, we're in the 3-peat timeline, so everything worked out, didn't it?
And then the nerves taken on Nick Nat against, you know, West Coast.
Hashtag McAvoy memories if you want to get on this train, listeners. We'll be celebrating him all throughout his final game in Tassie. Staying with this game against Richmond, though, the fan-nominated MVP was Jai Newcombe. I think that might be for the second week running. Probably the 5th or 6th time this year? Quite
clearly one of our standout performers. It'll be Sicily, Newcombe and probably Hardwick at the Peter Crimmins medal.
But it's nice that there's some good jostling between the players this year. As for Jai Newcombe, we were mentioning before, 29 touches, 400 metres gained, another week, another nod for MVP, as I said. All heart and a game-high 25 pressure acts to reflect that. So, magnificent effort. But also, we have to sing the praises yet again of a guy who just keeps on showing up, keeps on getting it done. It's Finn McGuinness.
I'm not sure Shai Bolton knew who he was. Did he?
He didn't play like himself.
No,
The stats reflect it. 13 touches, below his average output. 0 marks, which says to me that he got no space all day to even take a mark. 1 shot at goal compared to the 16 shots he had the previous 2 rounds. He was worn like a glove. Finn McGuinness has taken another scalp.
The concentration of Finn is ridiculous. It's off the scale. And Sam Mitchell's come out and said those last 8 weeks put him in the best 22, and that's definite for me.
So what are your hopes for him going forward? Because obviously this defensive tagging role is a lock. What's the next evolution for Finn McGuinness?
To be an even more effective defensive tagger, like getting the ball yourself and being able to meet them one-on-one.
Being absolutely frustrating to the opponent.
Yeah, so you absolutely blanket them, and then when you've got the ball, they've got to be the tagger. Yeah. They've got to be concentrating on you.
So you've got to hurt them the other way,
and
basically.
When you learn to read the play better than the opponent you're tagging, you can make them pay. Incredible, because we know there's certain players that don't defend.
It's less their go, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some big egos going around.
On footballers, I'm shocked. We got a question here from GSP62 via Instagram. Will Tom Mitchell be on the trade table?
All indications are that Tom wants to stay, Jay wants to stay, but
everyone wants to stay at Hawthorn, mate. That's half the problem.
But the real indicator is that neither of them spend that much time in the midfield either together. It's just a question of how do you balance Jager and Tom in the midfield and develop players around them. And the real question is, they're still taking the bulk of the workload in that midfield.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Can we get rid of them now? I think you can, because you can get rid of one of them because you've got Warple to come back.
That's true. Yep. That is exactly the question. Is it too soon to be looking at it? I don't necessarily think it is. I mean, you got to be open to it. You can't say no to moving them on, because I think the priority has to be the development of who's coming through, and I'm also just not sure.
So this is a problem that can happen if you do rob the midfield now. You sort of stunt the growth of some of the outside midfielders and also your forwards, because the inside 50s are so poor.
Yeah, that's right.
That you're not going to get good development.
Well, this is essentially the conundrum that I'm getting at, is when do you pull that lever? Is it right now? I think you have to entertain it at the very least. On the inside 50s, I'd say that it's not necessarily a problem with Mitchell. I don't think Mitchell's inside 50s are that good anyway.
No, it's not about that really. It's that it's him giving it out to someone who has more space. It's him giving enough of it. But even there, our contested possessions, he's not playing that role that much anymore.
I was going to say, is his clearance game that good?
We're trying to match that around.
Yeah.
It's a real problem. And although Sammy was a genius to solve it at West Coast when Pritis left, it just hasn't translated at Hawthorn yet.
I just find I'm much more optimistic when Hawthorn has a new look in their midfield, when they're running other people through. I feel like I'm more entertained by it. I feel like it's more effective in certain ways. And I'd be looking for them to move on from this old guard. Clarko's guard, we'll get to him a bit later.
Well, Liam Shields played at half forward, kicked a nice goal on the weekend. Good to see him out there again. Been a fantastic servant for the club. You'd suspect, even though they haven't announced anything, he's not going to be at Hawthorn next year. Just
a disclaimer, actually, that we're recording this about an hour out from team selection. So,
well, he might be selected again this week. There are a lot of injuries.
Yep.
And he certainly loves the club. And I love Liam. I think he's great.
Oh, we've had him on the show. Friend of the show, Liam Shields.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Fancy being able to say that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But I did have concerns for Box Hill when he left as well. And also Tom Phillips didn't play. He's got a knee injury. And yet their midfield didn't worry them. They still beat Geelong and they're playing finals. And this is a far more upbeat story than what we've just been talking about with Richmond, where they're just more battle hardened than we are, aren't they? And they've got a sniff of finals. And
well, exactly. They had more to play for. They played like a team that should be putting us away.
Yeah.
And they did. They did what they had to do. Box Hill did what they had to do against Geelong, who, frankly, Geelong never really had a sniff all day. Once we got in front, got a bit of a buffer, never looked back. 14-13-97 defeated Geelong 7-12-54. Jack Saunders impressed yet again, backing up his previous week's form with 25 touches, 1 goal, 1, a team-high 11 marks, 5 inside 50s, and bringing that electric outside run that I really enjoy and continuing to be creative, which is what he's going to need to get a contract, frankly.
Well, I don't think that Sammy thinks that Saunders is access to requirements yet, but we've just checked the phones and, there has been no announcement that there's a debut happening.
That's right,
yeah. Look, he's certainly shown a fair bit the last couple of weeks, but I would imagine he gets retained. The other bloke is Seamus Mitchell, which the club has made, not a claim to saying telling him he's safe or that he'll be at the club next year, but they've sort of intimated that they'd love to have him. And as long as Burge can get his body right, he is an immense talent. You'd have Amon and someone like Seamus Mitchell just...
Yeah, that sounds good, doesn't it?
Burning the wings at the G would be fantastic.
Need for speed. Yeah. The thing that really got it done for Box Hill is the fact that Dan Howe held up his end of the bargain. It doesn't matter. He keeps on being denied week after week, but he keeps on showing up week after week. 29 touches and really prolific in Box Hill's engine room once again.
And good decisions.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah, very good decision on the weekend. Max Lynch in the ruck helped him out. 17 disposals, a goal. He could have had 3.
Yes, 1 goal, 2 there.
And 22 hit-outs with 6 inside 50s for Max. So he might get a call-up.
Yeah. Well, I like the look of Max Lynch. He's had a really rough year, but when he's been on the park, whether it be for Hawthorn or Box Hill, I've felt really good about his recruitment to the club.
Now, whenever I get sad about reading that Bruce has to leave, or Gunston has to leave, and Robbo's salivating over him going to the Bombers and stuff like that, I just think, well, we've got Green to be elevated. Because the kid's a freak. 10 touches, 5 goals, 2.
Yeah.
Now, I know you think he has limitations, and he obviously does because he's been overlooked a few times.
Well, he's solely a forward.
But on Saturday, now, the Gold Coast game, which has another forward that's, I think it's 3 behind Fergus for the goal-kicking record in the VFL, they get to play North, which means by the time the Box Hill game rolls round, Green will probably be behind in the contest and have to...
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right? That'll be good to watch. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be Box Hill taking on Sydney at Box Hill City Oval, Saturday, 12:35pm. Sadly, I can't make that. I would have loved to have made that one to see Fergus Green in action, to be honest, because he is a ripper.
Can you really deny a bloke like Fergus Green a spot on an AFL list if he leads the goal kicking for the VFL?
Well, that's my worry, is that another club's going to swoop in and pick him up. When he's actually going to be... He could be pretty good for us.
Thank you for adding to my worries. That's really good. So, yeah, I think Max Lynch is probably a chance. I would say Keller would be a chance with Sarong.
Oh, yeah, Sarong could fall out of the side. But with 1 week to go...
He knows he's going to be on the list next year. They've got to have a good look at Keller. That's all it's about, really.
I did hear that there's going to be multiple changes.
Well, Impey's out. So, there's a spot for Saunders there if he's good enough, but you'd think McDonald would take it.
Yeah, true. McDonald elevated from sub, could be possible. Big Boy's final game in the notes here. Shields' final game, potentially, whether it's career or just with Hawthorn, who really knows. We had a question from Stewie Brew here, which amused me.
Can we ask Sis if he's willing to pull Norton's headband off again so we can see him sook it up again? Willing to set up a GoFundMe page to cover the stupid AFL fine.
It was $1,000 last time.
A whole grand?
Yeah, it was $1,000 for that.
Maybe you should cut it or rip it in half. What would be the...
Really take full advantage of it.
Yeah, just if get your money's worth.
Exactly. If you're going to shell that out, then just do whatever you like. Down the shorts, you name it.
What would you do if, the whole backline got the headband and they all just leant back? Would you just...
I'm picturing something from a Looney Tunes cartoon at this point.
Well, I mean...
It's becoming a slingshot for something.
It's less than $200 if the 6 of them combine. Be a great spectacle.
That'll save Tassie footy.
Well, to be honest, I'm really hoping that the Western Bulldogs lose because I've been on this train for a long time saying if you lose the grand final by such a deplorable margin such as that, you don't make finals.
You don't come back from that.
Something else we need to talk about is the curtain raiser.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a doubleheader, as we advertised last podcast. It was a doubleheader at the MCG. Our AFLW practice match, unfortunately, it was a loss, a 44-point loss. But, I mean, the gulf between the two teams, the Richmond having a very much established AFLW team compared to our women who are just giving it a crack for the first time, really, at the level.
Yeah, they lost the shape of their formation almost completely in trying to pressure the Richmond forwards and the ball carrier, and just meant when they were trying to reach a target, when they did eventually get the ball under pressure, that there was nothing to kick to up the line. So they just got to learn... to hold your structure, but you can understand it. There's a very big crowd. Someone looked very tired.
Oh yeah, even Richmond by the end looking a bit gassed, and that's fair enough. But as you say, the system just went out the window. You needed to mitigate what was happening in, our defensive 50 and try and stop the bleeding, but we had no out. And there was so many times where we lacked polished and just seemingly put it straight on the chest of an opponent. It just was quite remarkable.
Just a bit of panic.
Yeah.
And also, there's a bit of a crowd there. Well, not a big crowd, but there was...
But it sounded like they were more vocal for Hawthorn. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Whenever we did something good, I felt like we had some good support there. And, it was a 44-point loss. But the thing that I came away from this game thinking was the culture is there. And to quote Gordon Ramsay, the flavours were there.
well, they didn't stop trying, that's true.
Well, they didn't stop trying, but it was when Dom Carbone kicked that goal and the celebration that followed was a celebration not from a team that was looking at the scoreboard, and certainly not how they looked when they were coming from the grounds. Very happy to be there.
Right.
I think they're going to be cherry ripe when it comes to our round one clash, which has been successfully, moved to Marvel.
Good. Because we don't have to go to Northport or whatever it was.
That's right. We don't have to go out to Port Melbourne because of unprecedented demands. It was declared a sellout and moved to Marvel Stadium. First bounce is going to remain the same time, 7:10 p.m. Those who have already purchased tickets can just go straight into Marvel Stadium. They'll be valid.
There's a sighting of an endangered word, unprecedented. Haven't heard that in a while.
Oh, God. I'd be happy to see the back of that word,
I
to be
thought
honest.
that was out of the vernacular.
Ugh,
We'd had enough of that
chills.
word.
Now, that is going to be good. We had a question here from Adam. Do you think there'll be a melee at the first AFLW game?
Well, if not on field, off field, definitely.
These two clubs. They can't wait to get stuck in it. I actually think there will be an on-field scrap.
Yeah.
I think these teams are going to be so fired up. And look, if Hawthorn bring the same spirit that they did to this practice match, which I think was there, some of the tackling was absolutely brutal. I was like, Essendon are just not going to know what hit them. So that's something to look forward to. August 27, that is round one. It's been moved to Marvel. Tickets available right now. Get there. It's going to be absolutely amazing, especially if we pull off a win. That's going to be historic.
Yeah, I got a little SMS to say, your tickets now for Marvel Stadium, don't worry about it, because it's GA anyway. I was like, okay, thanks.
How many do you reckon we'll get there? Because Essendon and Port only got 20,000. Do you reckon we'll eclipse that?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, it would be so good if Essendon, that same work ethic turned up as well.
Oh, my God. Can we talk about it? We need to talk about them anyway because of Clarko.
Do we? See, this is the
briefly.
problem. If Clarko goes there, suddenly they become relevant again. I couldn't imagine anything worse. I mean, obviously, you don't want him to go to either of these clubs. You hate North.
Yeah, it's really put me in a jam, this conundrum.
First of all, let's consider the likelihood of him being successful at the next club.
Yeah, I'd say very minimal.
Yeah? Four premierships, it's enough. Like,
look, obviously love Clarko, but in retrospect, now that we've got some distance from it, lacking the innovation and
oh, you're being a bit churlish.
No, I'm not.
He brought four premierships to the club.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's why wherever
There's
he
a
goes...
reason you'd lose your job. It's because you're not performing any longer. But
whether it's
when you
Essendon,
start a new job, it's a new start.
whether it's Essendon or North, either direction is not going to dent how I feel about his time at Hawthorn. Because he did so well for us.
Come on.
No, look, how am I with Buddy? It's the same thing.
That's terrible. I don't believe you like that with Buddy either.
Don't you?
Nah.
I really enjoy him.
Really?
A bit different if he wins a flag, maybe.
Exactly.
maybe it does hinge on the
It's just
success.
because the threat of a flag at the moment at either Essendon or North is so remote.
Well, I've told you that I think it will stay remote, even with Clarko.
Right.
I don't think he'll get it done.
If you're Clarko, who are you going to? Put yourself
Essendon.
in his shoes.
Essendon. But then again, administratively, just because they're a big club, but administratively, they're a big shambles of a club right now.
Yeah, but that means that there's a vacuum and you get to
You
fill
get
it.
control. And I think Clarko likes control.
Maybe too much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
To his own detriment.
That's why I think it is very much buyer beware.
He's a very good decision maker.
I don't know. I don't think it's in his future another flag. It's not because I criticise the guy necessarily too harshly because, he was a genius at his time, but I think that time's gone.
I wouldn't underrate Clarko yet. I think he could... The thing is, if he goes to Essendon, he's going to be that Hawthorn bloke.
What do you mean?
Well, to an aggregate of the board or to the people who are inside the club, he's going to be that Hawthorn bloke.
Yeah.
Has he really got our best interests?
He's infiltrated.
He's not an Essendonian, etc. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if he goes to North, they'll thoroughly embrace him. it'll be his club overnight.
Yeah, no, I think that's also not in their best interest.
Oh, I don't care about that.
I think either way he goes, it's a lethal dose of Alistair Clarkson for either club.
Who has the greater acceleration towards finals, Essendon or North, if Clarko joins?
Essendon, probably.
Really?
I just think they've got a bit more talent on their list.
Okay.
You disagree?
I would say he'd probably clean out more at Essendon than he does at North.
How are you feeling about it, though? Like, where do you want him to end up?
In Tasmania, as North Melbourne coach.
Yeah, right. So
like Sheeds.
Kevin Sheedy.
Yeah, the Kevin Sheedy. Oh, what a genius. He's just such a stirrer.
Yeah. Is it genius? When you're on the board at Essendon and you're I think Clarko should go to the Roos.
Yeah, I know. I've had a few conversations with Kevin, and he's a bit different, right?
Yeah. We all know that.
Nothing is... you can see the straight line. Kevin won't take it. It's, yeah. So this time he's managed to cleave the North Melbourne supporters and Clarko by saying, if Clarko comes to the club, probably end up that North move to Tassie. And all the North Melbourne supporters are like, well, first of all, Kevin's an arsehole. And second of all, oh my goodness, I hadn't thought of that.
Where are you at on the emotional spectrum of things? Like,
is Clarko an agent of the AFL designed to take North to Tassie? No, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Gotcha. How are you feeling? Because I know some people are absolutely sickened by the idea of Clarkson being at either club, but especially Essendon.
Campbell Brown being
a prime example. Do you think that was tongue-in-cheek?
Won't talk to Clarko.
That's what he's declared. Do you think it was tongue-in-cheek? Because I haven't heard it.
There's a lot of theatre about this, but the Browns family is one I would not trifle with.
Okay, all right. But how are you doing with it, though?
Oh, God.
I think that says it all.
If he goes to Essendon and they become successful,
I'd be a bitter pill to swallow. But as I said...
soccer might be a good option.
For me, as I said, nothing will take away from what he did for Hawthorn. It will be tough, but that will always be in the bank. All those amazing times.
It's going to take him a long time to eclipse what he did at Hawthorn.
Well, exactly.
Bombers, yeah.
But he was the architect of so many great moments in my life that I'll always have that. So, I don't know, maybe I'm an old romantic like that. It'll always be with me.
It's just something about the red and the black. It makes people disgusting. Okay.
All right, Apple Podcasts. We need to give this a plug. Rate and review the show if you get a moment. And it just really helps other Hawkers find the show. We're always building the community all the time. And that's no more evident than what we're doing on Twitter right now as well. 3.7k it is. 3,700 followers on Twitter.
I wonder what Elon thinks about that. Are they real followers? What's going on?
Is there real followers? I talk to them daily. These are really rusted on, proud, passionate, paid up Hawthorn members. They're diehards like us, and it's always great to hear from them. Same as on Facebook as well. Great community building over there on Facebook, facebook.com/HawkTalkPod. We're on Instagram too. And of course, we've been able to share season 2022 with all of you by way of this podcast, and it's all been made possible thanks to the proud, passionate and paid up Patreon subscribers that support what we do. It's almost the off season, and that means there's going to be some exclusive bonus content on the way for all those that have signed up. So if you're interested in that and access to that sort of thing, head to patreon.com/HawkTalkPod for all the details.
Elon Musk is going to buy Manchester United. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's his latest statement. How long do you think till he comes around to AFL? Realises the potential there. Buys the whole comp.
Oh, God. Do you linked something on Twitter the other day? Is it a crypto type thing? I couldn't get my head around
this is the AFL... Oh, yeah. What is it? AFL Mint.
Do I even want to know?
Basically, you can buy an NFT.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
What are they again?
I knew you were going to say... I don't know.
Non-fungible somethings. And basically, it's like this, Nick.
Yeah.
You could buy... You know how you collect cards?
Mm.
Well, you can do that.
I know how you collect cards.
But they're electronic
images
that only you own.
Yeah,
apart from anybody who can take
the Hawks boys are into this.
Apart from anybody who can copy the image or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
No.
And it was $50 for a pack of 3 cards. And I thought, it's sold out. It's only the captains from this year. Like, it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Bizarre. See, I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Why would you invest in that? We can invest in patreon.com/HawkTalkPod. That's right, folks. It was a stealth plug. Anyway, we need to move on to red time questions, quickfire answers, Tiz. This one from Tim. What to your mind has been the biggest Hawthorn-related surprise this year, good or bad?
Well, you go first.
Thanks for that. Emerson Jecker, key defender.
Yeah.
Never saw that coming. Never saw that coming.
It's not a bad pick.
James Blank as well, being quite the revelation.
Yeah, I think that would have to be it for me. Blank being as good as he is so early. And probably a surprise to the rest of the competition too, just how they handled that. I think big tick. Picking up Burge from the Tigers, that's a surprise to me. I didn't think that would happen. And announced so early in the season is great.
You got a bad one up your sleeve?
I mean, there's been a lot of misfortune. The worst thing that shocked me was our fixturing and how little we had at the MCG and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
The year of Max Lynch, I think, has been an unpleasant surprise in a lot of ways about how unlucky he's been.
Yeah.
I think we expected him and hoped as much as he would that he'd be more available than he is, but God, this guy's luck in 2022 has been absolutely absurd. So, look, that's been an unpleasant surprise, but he'll bounce back.
I love this from Cam. Remember when I said...
You love a remember when I said ...
Absolutely, because I say a lot of things.
You love telling people so.
Because I say a lot of things, and every now and again, they come back to me.
Again, broken clocks.
Graham Wright. And I said, he's already given us one ruckman.
Yeah.
And Cam says,
speaking of Lynch,
do we have a crack at Grundy and rejig the midfield and potentially be a lot better next year or bottom out again, rebuild from the draft? I can see us being much better with the current midfield lineup with Grundy.
I wouldn't hate it, put it that way. I think it's a huge move.
How many long-haired ruckmen can you have on a list?
All right, you're right. Let's move on. Next question. What are you talking about?
I don't think that happens. Grundy's 29. We need at least 2 to 3 years. That makes him 32. It's probably not going to happen. He has, he played 5 games this year? I don't think we're prepared to invest that kind of money in a bloke doing that.
We do need a ruckman, though.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
You got Reeves, you got Lynch, you got...
Ramsden, who's far off it. He's going to be great.
Brinker Richley, is he a chance to be elevated?
He's still very green. I'd be looking at... See, I don't know what's on the market right now, but I'd be looking at a ruckman that's between 25 and 30.
Yeah, not going to happen. You don't get much out of him.
All right, okay, fair enough. Well, it's still a project anyway. Need to consider it. Moving on to this question from Jane. Oh, this one's a curly one. Don't know if you've discussed this yet, but if you had to choose between the two, who would you prefer to see win this year's grand final? Swans and Buddy or Geelong and name redacted?
Oh, I'd have to go with Swans.
Yeah, I'd go with Swans. I don't even feel like I need to justify that.
But I think the ultimate grand final for me would be Melbourne Dockers.
Really?
And the Dockers win.
And the Dockers win, yeah. Anyone that knows you knows which side you're falling on. I had this question from Dean. You can bring one player from our 2008 Premiership team into today's list. Who are you picking?
That has to be one of the easiest questions we've had on the podcast.
Go.
Shane Crawford.
Oh, jeez.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
I didn't see it coming.
Imagine him on the wing now. Oh.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'm just going to go with Buddy. It's easy.
Buddy or Cyril for me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a genuine toss-up between those two. Paddy, reckon we hear any Dingley news before the AGM? I'm going to say no.
I don't care.
We're just sort of trusting that that's all fine.
Yeah, they've got enough shovels now.
Oh, okay, so that's what was holding us back. All right. This one from Charlie. Any news on Jerome Lawrence, an exciting father-son key forward prospect is that we've mentioned on the show before, invited to participate recently in the State Draft Combine in Victoria.
Yeah, we've been watching a fair few of these highlights over the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And so making notes, trying to work out who Hawthorn might be looking at in the off-season. And also there's quite a number of overages which have been playing very well in the local leagues that were obviously overlooked due to lack of football over the last couple of years. So it should be very exciting. And the other thing is, being father-son and having overlooked so many under Clarko's era, we saw the dads come to training the other day at Hawthorn. So Sam is definitely trying to change that. He's trying to get a sort of generational theme to the club, isn't he?
Yeah, that has been a focus of his. Yeah, the culture of it has been high on his priorities.
So I think Jerome's quite a good shot at getting on the list.
Well, we'd have dibs to start with, being father-son. And also the fact is, from what I've read, as a key forward prospect, he can be a match winner.
Yeah.
Where on his day he can kick 4 or 5. So, yeah, certainly one to look at. We'll go in depth on all this stuff.
If we want these guys, we get them.
Yeah,
that's generally how it works. Because it's such a good reduction in what you need to bid for them that if you want them, you have them.
This next question from Callum. We have $2 million of salary to spend. Who on the current market would you like us to get? It's not something I've looked at closely. So instead, I'm going to boil it down to positional need. What does Hawthorn need right now? What would you spend that $2 million on?
I don't think there's one position in our team at the moment that can't be bettered.
That's an interesting thought. I never thought of it like that. I feel like, speaking of Jerome Lawrence, we probably need another key forward. We do need another ruck. Need to keep on working on that midfield.
Any of the midfielders. Any of the wings.
Yeah, no, I see your point. Yeah, actually, come to think of it, yeah, we could use improvement in most areas, which for a team that's about to finish 13th, not much of a shock.
Aren't we lucky we didn't get Whitfield?
Yeah.
He's really fallen away.
This question from Dino to finish off. Not a footy question, but given the penchant for caramello koalas, worth getting into a Kit Kat Milo when you're feeling better, Tiz. Now, you have been a bit ill this week.
Put that into the calendar.
Yep, that's right. Note that down, Kit Kat Milo.
Yeah, got ill at halftime. No.
Not even getting any kickbacks from Nestle for this. Shocking.
Kit Kat Nestle, are they?
Yeah,
Did you research?
Mate, I've been doing my research since I was a kid. Should know who does those. Anyway, that'll be the episode this week. How are you feeling? Last game of the season. We've done about, probably more than 22, 23 of these in a row now.
Are you asking if I'm feeling fatigued? Hawthorn fatigue? Like the rest of the competition about six or 7 years ago.
No, I'm just asking, how are you feeling about the season and...
Oh, there's some real bright sparks. There's some beautiful ball movement. We've had some great performances. We beat Geelong. That's a big tick.
Brisbane was a good one.
We had a horrible game against Essendon.
Yeah.
There's lowlights, which we were there for. St Kilda, still a bogey side. What else?
Oh, it's tough. We'll get into all this. We've got our big season recap coming eventually. But
you've got to say that most of the signals coming out of the club, the development of the personalities within the club, the fact that we're still playing a decent game style with so many injuries, all augur well for next year and the years after that.
Yeah, I feel good about this season. I feel good about where the club's going, and I think that's really important. We've arrived at a pretty good spot for round 23. What are we doing this game? Do you reckon we can get it done?
No.
No, neither. Anyway, that'll be the Hawk Talk one. I should clarify.
Is that really how you're going to end things?
No, I just think the Dogs...
Look, we've beaten them already.
Not this year, we haven't. Last time we were in Tassie.
There.
Last time we were in Tassie, we beat them. I worry about the Dogs' midfield.
They weren't at all convincing last week, sorry.
Yeah, I still don't know. I think their midfield's a bit too strong. I know that that's an area of great weakness for us. But I don't know, this team surprised me this year in the most wonderful ways. So maybe we can... We haven't lost a final round game since about 2009.
Wow. That's a hell of a stat.
Yeah. So, look, can we get it done again?
Anything can happen, because either the boys have decided that they want to end the year on a good note and they've got nothing to lose, or they've got nothing to gain and they're on their holiday already, mentally.
I think we should end our year by ending the Dogs' year.
I mean, they're not going much further, are they?
No, absolutely not. So we might as well take the scalp, get revenge for what happened earlier in the year at Marvel. I'm going to really look forward to this one. I think it'll be good to see off the season on a good note. I feel like it's been a fun, enjoyable season for all of its highs and lows. And we'll see what we can do against the Western Bulldogs. That is round 23. We will be back next week, of course, to recap that clash. We are a happy team in Hawthorn.